Page's world record time?
1 minute, 55 seconds. I saw it on the rug. I was
Good
looking
job.
at the year.
What is Dan Page's world record time?
155.
Yeah, I saw that
Good
one.
work.
Oh, yeah.
We would have seen something on here.
That's a small group today, huh?
I would have saw something like that. I'm like, and it was just that the wind took the car out of my hand when I opened the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Urgh."
Good evening. I'd like to call the Community Equity Commission together on this Thursday, March 13th, 2025. And at this time, can we have a roll call?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Commissioner Agawamba, Commissioner Ahmed, Commissioner Chatterjee, Commissioner John Grass,
Here.
Chair Lewis Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Messias, Commissioner Mukalol,
Here.
Commissioner Nelson,
Here.
and Commissioner Schultz.
Here.
Okay, and then at this time, let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So with that, do we have any additions or deletions or modifications to the agenda for tonight?
Chair and Commission, we do not have additions at this meeting. I do want to again highlight to the Commission that we did add a discussion, so that's business item D, around the CEC's recommendations for ceremonial flags. This came out of the conversation we had at Monday's work session with the council. So I'll go a little bit more in detail to that staff report later on tonight, but I just want to again sort of call that out.
Okay, thank you. Any other modifications to the agenda? Anything to add? No, okay. With that, do we have a motion to accept the agenda for tonight?
Commissioner Nelson, I move to approve the agenda tonight.
Okay, thank you. A second?
Commissioner Mukalal, second motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Now approval of the minutes from February 13. Do we have a motion to accept those, or are there any changes to that? Yes, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, I have one that is not substantial, but I did notice that under election of chair and vice chair, on the third line down, Chair Lewis Miller is referred to as Gail, and I didn't know for consistency if you would like to adjust that.
Chair and Commission, I will make that change.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, I also had a small change. Under C, review and adopt the work plan. Motion carried 7-0, but they only list 6 people voting for.
Chair and Commission, I will update that too.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, with that, do we have a motion to accept the minutes from February 13th?
Commissioner Mukalal, make the motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, thank you. A second?
Commissioner John Grass would second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, we'll get right into our business of the evening. The first one is a presentation on commissioner roles and responsibilities. And that will be presented to us by Christopher Swanson.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair and Commission. So what I'll do, I'm going to just go over the orientation for newly appointed officials. Historically, when commissioners were appointed, they went through this training. One of the things we're going to start doing is providing this training annually for all commissioners. I think it just kind of helps set the expectation and kind of understand like what the role of a commission is in our process, and also just kind of provide some best practices for being a commissioner. Quick background, Savage was incorporated in 1882, was a village of Hamilton. Then in 1904, it became the city of Savage. It was named after Marion Savage, the famous owner of Dan Patch. The current population is around 32,465 people with 11,181 households. We expect that number to continue to grow. This is a forecast from the Met Council. So as you can sort of see, Savage has really seen a massive jump in population over the last 20 years or so, and we continue to sort of expect to see that growth there. So just kind of capturing where we were in the community and where we're going. Here's a quick demographic snapshot of the city. As mentioned before, the population there. Most of our population is 18 years or older. What that kind of tells me is we'll start seeing some change as people move in and other people downsize across the community. We are a more diverse population than we were 15 years ago. In 2010, our white population was at 81%. We're now at 72.7%. And we're seeing the community become more and more diverse. So just a quick little snapshot there. And then sort of, again, that summary of housing. We can expect that to continue to grow. The forms of housing will start to probably differ a little bit more. We tend to be generally mostly developed, so we'll probably start seeing people going up with housing and not out, as we've seen kind of in some recent developments there. So quick little snapshot of the city. As mentioned, the comp plan also expects continued growth in our population size over the course of the next decades or so. Organization generally, we are a Plan A city. So that's council with a weak mayor. So that's a council who's part of the governing body of the city. They really are focused on plans for future developments in the city and then also helping take steps to implement that plan. They can levy taxes and special assessments. They're allowed to borrow money, and they control the subdivision of land, and they basically appoint the commissions too. Basically, everything the city does is with the blessing of council. We have one mayor for councils, and they're the ones who set the public policies. Internal staff policies, unless it sort of gets to organization-wide, generally rely with the city administrator. The mayor and council are for four-year terms. They have meetings on the first and third Monday of the month, and then we have a work session on the second Monday of the month. The council also serves as our economic development authority, which makes decisions on economic development questions. One of the cool things about sort of this level of city and the size of our city is we have a number of commissions that help sort of from the ground up council make those decisions. So we use the commission as kind of a sounding board for what the public's feeling and seeing about projects, and it flows up as recommendations to council. Here's a snapshot of what the city does. I think this is a really cool story to tell because everyone says, oh, city, we have fire, you have police, you have some roads, you know, I see my neighborhood, but what does that really mean? It's like we have 143 miles of street we maintain, 171 separate pieces of special equipment, 118 vehicles. There's just a lot of things that we do day in and day out that is really kind of hard for us to tell the story. One of the things I always think about is most of the time people never think about their city until something goes wrong. This is kind of that story of look at all the stuff you do. Most of the time you don't think about any of these things. So just a great little snapshot there. Something I wanted to highlight is we did a strategic plan in 2022. Kind of the mission of that plan was to maintain and enhance high quality of life in the city. We'll do this through the delivery of reliable, resilient, and cost-effective services and thoughtfully planned growth. What that vision, kind of what drives us is we want to be an inclusive community for all ages and stages of life, a safe, welcoming place with abundant natural amenities. We want to honor our unique history while simultaneously planning our growth and the creation of a dynamic, full-service city. And we identified 4 strategic priorities from this process: community identity, planned redevelopment, downtown renewal. We want to maintain and enhance parks, recreation, trails, and natural resources. And we want to build our workforce capacity. So I think that kind of really kind of pushes where the city is going and being strategic about kind of how we continue to look at future expenditures of resources and really what really sets what the organization wants to be. One of the things that I think is cool from this process too is we are coming up to 2025, which is the end of this first strategic plan. So we're planning to start working on this next strategic plan in 2026. So that will be a process not just driven by council, not just staff, but we'll also have community involvement throughout that process too. So something exciting for this group to work on in the future. Any questions on that quick snapshot of what a city does and what we're doing? Awesome. City commissions generally, we have 4 commissions. We have the Planning Commission, Parks, Rec, and Natural Resources. We have the Economic Development Commission, and we have the Community Equity Commission. These commissions have alternatives. They are expected to attend meetings. They can participate in discussion, but only are able to vote when a regular member is absent. We also have the opportunity for student participation. They basically function as another alternate and take one of those spots. They are, again, encouraged to participate. They are not voting. As I mentioned, they take the place of an alternate commissioner. I have a quick summary of what each commission kind of does. I don't feel like I need to go into the Community Equity Commission. I think you guys understand it pretty well. Parks, Natural Resources. Basically, this is a commission that reviews any sort of items as it relates to park. So it could be helping set the park master plan, could look at park placement with a new playground. Sharif and Gail have talked about the Peace Poles as a project that we're working on in partnership with the Rotary. The Parks Commission has reviewed those proposals. Fun fact, we're also looking after prior discussions at our last meeting, looking at additional languages. We're actually looking at a 4th location for a 4th pole. So we'll be bringing that to the Parks Commission and say, hey, we have this opportunity. Where do you want us to put this? So one of the great things to get sort of recommendations directly from the community there. We have the Planning Commission. Generally, those are more set by state statute. They kind of help dictate what can and cannot be done in terms of development in the cities. And when there's things that may be a little bit out of the ordinary of what standard planning practices, they review it to make sure it fits within the community. And then an Economic Development Commission that assists the council in sort of pushing our economic development goals. Generally, they look at leases, they look at TIF districts, they look at sort of all things taxing and economic development related. They've had a big hand in the discussions around the downtown redevelopment plan. So that's sort of their bread and butter and rolls up to the council. So generally, role of the chair for all these commissions, they maintain order, they encourage discussion, they facilitate action and decision-making, and they follow parliamentary procedures. The vice chair also fills this role when the chair is not in attendance. Oh, there's an interactive thing here. City Commission's dues. If you'll be absent, please tell us, because then we can track quorum. That's really, really important. Things don't get done if you don't have quorum. We'd ask that people read packets of information before the meeting. Bring packets with you if you want. If you need a packet and you want me to print it out, please tell me. I would prefer if you tell me a little bit before the meeting, just so I have time to print it out. So that's important. If there's possible, please send questions ahead of time. One of the things I always tell commissions is if you have a question, most of the time the other commission members also have that question. So as opposed to just one of us or just me responding to a single commissioner's questions, it's nice to be able to just have a response for everyone because most people go, oh, thank you, I had that same question. Make staff aware if you have a conflict of interest. We'll sort of go more in detail to this later. Voice your opinion. You serve as the voice of the community, so please speak up if you have questions, statements. If you just, if there's that little thing nagging on you, you just want to go and mention it, please. This is a great opportunity for that conversation. And then also base your decision on information, not emotions. It can be hard sometimes to make these decisions, particularly planning and equity stuff when your neighbor maybe disagrees with you or they have an issue or may direct you personally. But what we ask of commissions is to try to remove yourself sometimes from those situations. If you have questions on that or you think there's something more that you want to talk through, please reach out to staff too and we sort of talk through what that process looks like. Sometimes just saying, hey, this is why I'm making this decision. I hear that, I understand that, here's my thoughts, but based on the information provided, these are the decisions we feel like we have to make. So quick do's and don'ts. Speak into the microphones. We have people then that go and write the minutes. It's very hard if you're talking like this, or if you're talking like this, or if you're leaning back. This commission does a really good job of it, but it's just something that not only elected officials and appointed officials, but staff needs to remember many times. So just a second reminder there. Attendance policies. So missing 3 consecutive meetings or attending less than 75% of the meetings in a year will cause the committee, commissioner, chairperson, staff commission liaison, and city administrator to review the nature of the absences. Pending the outcome of the review, a recommendation may be made to the council for removal for poor attendance. This is also something that the alternate members are also expected to comply with. Just again, kind of alternate members, they act as regular members in absence of any regular members. Sometimes midterm vacancies of regular members may be filled by alternates. That again is something the council would have to appoint them to. It is not an automatic process. And then if an alternate wants to step up into that regular commissioner seat, they also still need to apply and follow that normal appointment process. One of the things I also wanted to mention is I will be sending out individually to each person their attendance record for 2024. If you have any questions on that, reach out to me. All right, now we get into the fun, gritty lawyer details. Conflict of interest. A public officer who is authorized to take part in making a contract may not voluntarily have a personal financial benefit or personally benefit financially from the contract. That's legalese, basically saying if you gain something from it or think you may gain something or there's a perception that you'll gain something, you may want to excuse yourself from that vote. There's a good list of stuff there where there's a lot of court cases on. What I've generally recommended to people is if you have questions, if you think there may be even a whisper of conflict of interest, please reach out to your staff liaison and we can sort of talk through what that looks like. More often than not, particularly with this commission, because you are doing less contracts, less development, et cetera, is we just may have to mention it or speak to it at the meeting and say, hey, either I'm going to sit out or I'm going to do this, I'm aware of these things. So just be mindful of that. Again, here's the process of disclosures of potential conflicts of interest. Please do not feel like you must take this burden on yourself. Again, if there's any questions, please reach out to staff. We'll walk you through this process. Sometimes you may reach out to our attorney just to confirm and get their feeling for what we should do in that situation. Again, ask your staff liaison if you have questions. Gift ban. So an interested person may not receive a gift or request another gift to a local official, and a local official shall not accept a gift from an interested person. There's a lot of case law around that. Basically, if anyone offers you anything and they have any sort of business in front of the commission, don't take it. If it's your friend giving you something, if you're at a barbecue and somebody offers you food, you can take that. That's fine. That's a private thing. But if we're exploring contracts or looking for future training vendors or something like that, and somebody offers to reach out to you and take you out for coffee, don't take the coffee. You can go out for coffee. You can talk with them, but don't let them buy you coffee. So that's a quick summary. Again, if you have questions, please reach out to the staff liaison. Open meeting laws. This is where I think most commissions get themselves in trouble, just by nature of what we do. You are in the community, you know each other, it's easy to talk, and that's where you kind of have to be intentional about what you do. Basically, a quorum is when you need to follow the open meeting laws. That is when the governing body could make a decision by law. So in this instance, because we have 7 members, that would be 4 people. So if 4 people are talking about an issue related to the commission, then we get into quorum issues. Particularly, we also have to make sure that we post stuff in a relatively timely manner. So for staff, that means me posting the agenda and materials at least 3 days before the meeting. That is noticing the meeting correctly. That includes at a public space on our website. And we also have to have a packet here in the meeting room. And this also applies to not just the council, not just commissions, but any subcommittees too. So even if we appoint a subcommittee and it's, let's say, 2 people, because it's now a subcommittee of a governing body, it does now have the ability to make decisions. We then need to treat that as a governing body, basically follow the same procedures for any public meetings. Any questions on this one? This is the one that can get into really interesting spaces. Awesome. Again, ask your staff liaison if there are any questions. And just be mindful of casual discussions, social gatherings, seminars, plannings, training sessions, neighborhood meetings, et cetera. Email communications. Generally, I'd ask you not to email everybody. We try to set it up so if you reply, you don't reply all. That quickly gets into trouble with people. And then also just be mindful of the use of social media. So if you post something, it can be construed as speaking for or being part of the public forum. So just be intentional about what you post there. Also, you may want to think twice if you get something back that you don't agree with. There may be some conversation about what should and should not be removed based on the conversations and the items up for discussion. This one particularly asked staff for questions. This is one that, depending on what it is or how it's going, we'd bring in the attorney. So any questions on these additional comments?
I guess I do have a question. For when we say work a booth or something, like on Welcome Week,
Yep.
do we need to watch that if we have 4 or more people there manning the booth?
Chair and commission, generally when we've done it, we've kind of scheduled, well, I think maybe we've got lucky sometimes. We have not had, we're just talking to people. So I think if we were saying, let's talk through this item specifically, and we have 4 or more people, we would just have to notice it, which honestly, I've done that in a number of other commissions where, hey, we're doing this event, we're just going to notice it. Come on down and talk to us. We'd love for you to talk to us. So, but we'll just have to be intentional. Like if we have everybody signs up for one shift at Dan Patch Days, we may want to notice that as a public meeting, particularly if it's something that we're getting input on or hearing from about people. If we're just talking to them about what the CEC is doing, I think we have a little bit of flexibility, but something for both commissioners and staff to be mindful of.
Yeah, and you never know what people are going to bring up and want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
That's why I was curious.
Yeah, and I think if it's kind of that one-on-one interactions with, X member of the public, I think you're safe. If then the commission then started talking about things, we would then get into an area that we might want to say, hey, let's break this up and we can bring it as a future item.
Any other questions for Mr. Swanson? Yes.
So, Chris, in terms of social media, can you speak to that? Because if there's let's say there's a hot topic and someone is discussing it, on a personal level, but then it may affect CEC or the city. Can you speak to that specifically?
Yeah, I think if there's particular items in front of the CEC, I would recommend you not say, hey, I'm going to go to the CEC, please give me your input on this thing. Because then it becomes kind of a more official CEC business than let's say, hey, let's all celebrate Juneteenth, like something like that. I think if you get in specifically to the work that we're doing here in conversations and discussions here, I think then we'd have to have a conversation about like what you can and cannot say, and then what is and is not part of the public record.
Okay.
Okay, I do have a question also or clarification. So is it my understanding that if someone asks you a question individually that has to do with the commission, if you phrase it first by this is my own personal opinion, you are then not representing the commission or the city because you're giving your own personal.
Chair? Yep, sorry.
Any other time, if it involves more about the commission, I think it would probably be best to contact you
Yep.
or Emily Gunderson with any further communications or questions.
Yeah, Madam Chair and Commissioner, that's a great point. I think if it's specific to the commission work and work being done at the city, maybe broadly too, reach out to me, reach out to Emily, say, hey, I had this thing. What are your thoughts? How should we handle it? If you are just being asked a question, you say, oh, I'm Gail. I'm also a member of the CEC. Here's my personal thoughts. I think that's just fine.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yes.
So going back to the 3 missed meetings per year, so I know you're sending us a report for last year. So then will you send if someone has missed 2 and there's only 1 more? How will that go? How will you go about that?
Yeah, Mayor and, sorry, automatic. Chair and Commission, I think one of the things, staff is kind of working on what that process is. I think we'll be a little bit more intentional about reaching out, saying, hey, we noticed this. Again, there is some flexibility too. If something happens, if there's a family emergency, if all of a sudden work pulls you somewhere, we understand that too. Like you are volunteering your time, and we value that. So I think we then just sort of start working directly with that commissioner. Our intention is not to just be like, you missed it, you're done, because that just doesn't seem fair to anybody.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Well, thank you very much for that presentation.
The final
Oh,
item
there's
too,
more.
this is just,
Okay.
kind of standard process. So if we have a threatening incident, if you feel threatened, this again is reach out to staff. If you exit out that exit door, you'll be able to get out into a kind of a protective hallway there, and then you can exit either out into the parking lot or keep going down the hallway. If you feel uncomfortable, you can call 911. That's the fastest way to get a response here. Cops are just around the corner, so they'll come down and they'll be here very quick. Or just reach out to me. You can send me an email during the meeting or just wave me down, say, hey, we need a break. Something too, for the chair, just to note too, if we feel like the meeting may be getting out of hand, particularly due to like public interruptions or such like that, we can also take recesses and basically take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, kind of reset and then go from there. Again, work with staff on that, reach out to me if there's any sort of need. And then, again, we're here if there's anything that comes up. Questions? Again, thank you for your time. This is, it's one Thursday every month. That's a big commitment. So I appreciate that.
Thank
The
you.
city
That
appreciates
was
it.
a lot to cover for all the commissions, just for an awareness for all of us. And then, if there's nothing else with that, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the presentation of the Community Equity Commission's purpose.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. My water bottle's like frozen. So many of you already know this information. Many of you served on the READY task force. So just kind of some backup here. So the commission came out of discussions through the READY task force process. What the READY task force gave was kind of some major areas of focus that includes community experience, sense of safety, diverse representation at all levels of the city, connection to the community, and support to BIPOC businesses. Through that conversation, the council then created by ordinance, so by a law, created the CEC with the purpose of advising the city council on diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies to strengthen relationships among historically underrepresented populations in local government, including but not limited to ethnicity, race, age, gender, faith, sexual orientation, or nationality. What the CEC does to support that task is review city practices, policies, and procedures to provide recommendations around equity, inclusion, and engagement. So broadly, we kind of get that high level, what we want to do, what we want to see. Next level is kind of how we're going to do it. And then kind of really, this is focusing on kind of what that means. So particularly the focus on the word equity versus equality. So equality, when people are provided the same resources and opportunities despite circumstances, that's something many people have been working towards for many years. We recognize that does not always end up with the same outcomes for everybody. So what this commission is really focused on is equity. That is making sure everyone has the resources and opportunities they need to succeed, to kind of get to that same level. I love this graph. It's just so clear, so helpful. I can speak on this at length, but this captures it all. So that's, basically the purpose of CC. I wanted to open up to any additional conversations. I just think annually, I think this is a great presentation to make, just to kind of remind what we're doing here, why we're doing it.
All right, any questions for Chris at this time?
Awesome. I think
Okay,
my
seeing
presentations
none.
are done.
I believe that is covered. So we'll go on to our next item, which is we would like to begin a discussion for what we're thinking of or what we're going to do for Juneteenth celebration in Savage. For a couple years now, we've been talking about doing some type of celebration here in Savage for Juneteenth. We do have a budget set aside for celebrations. As you saw in your notes that we have quite a bit left of what we had asked for of the $1,500. So we do have some funds there to work with for Juneteenth and any other celebrations for the remainder of this year. So I thought that, this would be a good time for us to have a discussion as a commission about any thoughts that we may have for the celebration of Juneteenth. And this could be just the beginning discussion. It could be a matter of putting a small committee together to say, hey, this is what we came up with and present it at the next meeting. But it would be good to have start having that discussion now. I know from looking at other cities around us that there are several celebrations, and they have a number of, whether it's a parade, a speaker coming in, food trucks or just food or poetry reading or an author come in to talk more about Juneteenth. You know, there's a number of things we could do. We could also go in with another surrounding city that's close to us and do a joint Juneteenth with them. So there's a number of things that we could do. One thought I had before I open it up is if we do something here in Savage, I think the ELC Center would be a wonderful place to have it, to start. Because if there's rain that day, we'd have it inside. If not rain, we have the patio outside. Inside, we have the technology there in the center for anyone we may have come and speak or do a presentation. There's the kitchen there for any catering we may have done. You know, I've processed some things, but I'd like to open it up to the commission now. Any thoughts on that? Everyone can jump in, you know, anytime.
Madam Chair, the initial thought I have is we need to include the younger generation because they are the future. So we need to bring them, attract them, and educate them somehow and have fun about Juneteenth and how important it is to celebrate Juneteenth and accept and appreciate one another.
Yes, that's a good suggestion, and it is about bringing the youth in and really helping them see what this is really about. And, you know, even if we got feedback from more youth to say, hey, who would you like to see here? You know, that may be something to think about.
Definitely.
Others? Yes.
I would just
Commissioner
add
Schultz.
that there, I don't,
Sorry, Nelson.
to build on that, I mean, I know in Prior Lake and probably in Burnsville as well, there are student affinity groups, and I know the Black Student Union in Prior Lake for several years does sort of to call attention and to celebrate, they also do a like food and diaper type drive. And perhaps pulling students in not only to have posters and educational flyers, which they do, but also let them do, you know, hold that drive in a central location might be one way to say, we see you active, we see you doing this. Do you want to join our celebration? So,
Any other thoughts?
So, Chair.
Yes.
So, Chris, can you please remind us the budget of how much we have left, and so we can maybe discuss
Chair and Commission, we have a budget of $952 left
for the year?
for the year.
Okay. So, Chair, one of the things I thought about is maybe involving, I know we have some businesses in the community, so seeing if we can get any contributions, either monetary or just initial discussions about that for any event or events that we may have in the city of Savage. Is how maybe can we promote Black businesses, or how can we get other businesses to be more informed about what we do? And I know, like for example, we had like Hy-Vee contributed like coffee at one of the events we had. I can't remember which one it was, but so maybe getting contributions that can alleviate some of the financial burden that we may have if you're looking at the whole year.
Mm-hmm. That's a good suggestion. Other thoughts?
are we talking about this June?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, this June.
I'm just
That's-
thinking
that's why-
timeline.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this now.
Chair and Commission, I think that's one. It's like, are we talking about this June, kind of size of the event, partners, even just sort of stuff like that. So if you want donations, there's kind of a more good or bad. The city, we have a very long process to accept donations. Also just, it takes time too. So trying to be intentional about staff time. We really don't have a lot of additional staff time to put towards an event like this at this time. But also, the commissioners too. I've been involved in planning a Juneteenth event at a different city. It was a lot of those volunteers' time over the course of some months. So I think just trying to figure out what the scope is, I think is really important right now for this commission.
Madam Chair, I'm just thinking if we did something on a smaller scope or smaller scale, we could also use it as an opportunity to attract people to begin planning for the next year out. So come on down and celebrate with us, and let's explore how to really do this in 2026. What are your ideas? Who do you know? What community should we be speaking to? Who have you heard speak? You know, to even book a food truck or anything at this point might be a little more difficult. So I don't know if there's a way to cross-purpose a smaller event in anticipation of a growing event the following year.
Yes.
Sorry, I was
Commissioner
gonna,
John Drasky.
I was gonna add in, we should find out what times the communities around us are planning the bulk of their events. So we can try not to overlap the main event if we do, say, a smaller event with an author or a speaker of some kind. If we want to go to multiple, then they're not picking one or the other.
Right.
They can say, go here and then Burnsville or vice versa.
Yes, that's a good suggestion. My thought is, because this is our first one, we would start out small, and that's why I was thinking the ELC Center, because, you know, we have to get the communication out. If we have it catered, we can, you know, that again, what I'm looking at is what the Shakopee Diversity Alliance did for several years. And they had theirs catered by a company. I don't think it cost them a lot. They got donations on some of it. And then they had music. You can have a speaker talk about what Juneteenth is once everyone's there. You could have a author come and read. I have a couple in mind. One that just has a book that just came out. He was actually invited out to, I think it was CBS. He was live on CBS to talk about his book. I don't know what his cost would be. He's an educator, a teacher. You know, and if people knew he's gone around and done many book presentations and book signings. If they knew he was coming, that might be an attraction for that day. But here again, I'm speaking way ahead. I don't know if he's even available. But I'm thinking if we start on a smaller scale like that, because I think we have the funds for that, and just try to get the word out, it would grow from there. So that's my thought right now. And there may be other authors out there too that we could get. Yes.
Chair, so when you think about like cost for having speakers, I mean, that adds up to, and like how much do these speakers, are they asking for to come for an event like this? Because when you think about 950 over, it's March and we have, how much does a speaker cost? I don't know that information. It could be maybe 500, I don't know, or more. Will that, I know it's hard to ask people to volunteer that time because that's their livelihood. So how do we, that may be something that just worth considering if you're looking for someone who is a speaker, author, is selling books, and that's a livelihood. Is that feasible given how much we have to, because it probably could be like back and forth with like having emails back and forth, and are they considering other events that they may go to that maybe has finances and we don't? So it's I think it could be tricky given the time frame if you're looking at this year. I mean, I think it's a great idea, but when you look at time frame and how much the budget we do have, that may be a barrier. If we are looking at heading that direction, it's just some of my thoughts.
You know, my thought is if we have different people at this point assigned to start looking into different things and then come back to the next meeting with what they found, maybe we would know what direction to go then.
Yeah.
You know,
Say, Chair and Commission, it sounds like there's an interest in doing a small event at the ELC, which I think is something we could look at reserving. I think my question to you would be, would we want to do it on the 19th? That is a Thursday. This also could be something that, as we talk to speakers, we determine what is the best date. But also, I think that's a great plan. I think, sometimes it's hard to talk about things we don't know. So maybe that's one of the things we do next is say, reach out to some people or identify some people and just say, hey, we're looking at doing this event on this date in Savage. What's their availability and, what's their cost?
you know, I think after we find out what our surrounding neighbors neighbor cities, or when they're holding theirs, then we'll know what day to hold ours.
Chair and Commission, I will actually get that information in the next couple days and send it out. I think that will really help some of the discussions we do, and also just kind of like setting the dates we're looking at. So,
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be on the 19th, you know, so, yeah.
Madam Chair, may I suggest maybe form a small committee and make a decision like in 2 weeks or so on this details and move from there. That way, so you already have put, so Madam Chair has already put some thoughts into it, and there may be other people in the committee who have exposure with connection. So if we have like 2 or 3 people in the committee and move forward, and maybe we can discuss and finalize that in the next meeting, but you make the move like in 2 weeks and make the decisions. And June 19th is a holiday, so for maybe it's a summer, like June, right? It's a holiday for everybody.
Well, it was a holiday. I don't know.
No, okay.
Yeah. You know, I do agree with that suggestion, just to put a small committee together
Yeah.
from our commission.
Chair and Commission, I actually, as of right now, I think committees are really good when you need to be nimble and make decisions kind of fast for the final. I would maybe save that till after our next meeting. I think for right now, I think you have the space to let everyone go and get all the information they can. And then what I would say is maybe just send what you get to me so I can prepare a staff report for the April meeting. And then we may want to appoint a committee to say, all right, these are the, you know, this is a person, this is the subcommittee that's dealing with the room reservation and food reservation. This is a subcommittee that's maybe dealing with the contacting the speakers or something like that, and then sort of be strategic about the use of this commission's time.
So are we looking at maybe 2 people on each of these?
Chair and Commission, I think that would be the lowest amount. I think that could be a good amount. Then that would allow you to sort of work within those small groups to get stuff done and not have to be this larger group. So
Okay.
you know, we also may, at the next meeting, depending on all the information we get, may say, oh, great, this date seems good for this person. What do we want for food? This, we're good. Let's go and start planning it. So,
Yeah, because with us having a few people missing, they may have wanted to jump in on some of this also. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
I was just going to say, no matter how we do it, I really want to set us up for success and consider scale this time around. Like, if we're going to lose those funds, you know, then let's bring in a speaker with some light treats, because 2 months from now, I mean, we should be marketing already, and we don't even know what it is. And so I want to capture and start moving us forward, but I also want to make sure that none of us are working, you know, 40 hours a week trying to get this together and still struggling to market and putting extra burden on staff. If there's a way to use it to, like, again, oomph up for next year, I love that if we can do simple. Like, if here's a great author that you know that's coming in, we're going to have snacks, and this is how we'll get the word out.
So the way I see this right now is Chris is going to let us know about the surrounding dates for the surrounding community cities around us. We know the cost is there, so is there anyone that would like to work on looking at, I mean, as far as booking the ELC Center and all that, we could go through the city to do that.
Chair and
so that-
Commission, yep, I will have that covered. What I will do is probably reach out to them tomorrow and just put some tentative holds on that. We'll see if there's anything there and then put some tentative holds if I can.
Okay. I would be happy to work on the food because I can connect with some of the other cities that have done this to find out where they kind of connect it with the food vendors that they used and how much that cost. So I can work on the food.
Cool.
Any others? And I can also, if anyone else knows of authors or a speaker, I think individually we could just reach out to that person and see if they would be interested. And it would be nice to have someone actually from the commission read about and present what Juneteenth is, for a starter for the whole program. Yes.
Madam Chair, I think, I don't want to volunteer Amina, but I know that I think she's done some of these events or is familiar, so she may have an idea about a speaker. But if my suggestion would be having something interactive. I think that would be really helpful because given the nature of where we are, as a country, just globally, I think having someone really, because you want to draw not just Black people, want to draw the entire community. So how can we use this opportunity to bring the entire community together and learn in a way that, where people are coming in with humble curiosity, they want to learn, and how can we present this information where it's digestible and people are feeling safe where they can ask questions versus having someone speak to their crowd. How can we engage the crowd where everybody's feeling where they're learning and we can get to speak with each other, get to know our neighbors? I think that'll be something that can benefit the entire community, is where something that's really interactive, and if it's a Q&A or if it's getting into small group, but something where it feels light and not such a heavy, because when you think about Juneteenth and you think about slavery and where we've come as a country and where we're going now, where, not having it where it is a heavy topic. I agree on that for sure, how we've come as a country, but how can we make it where people feel safe and comfortable asking questions and being engaged and involved, is my suggestion.
Good. Thank you, Commissioner Schultz, for that suggestion. Now that I'm thinking back, we probably will need some type of an outline of a program. But keep this in mind, there's going to be kids there. And what I remember now from the ones I've attended, they had activities going on for kids, because kids aren't always going to sit there and listen. So we would probably need someone to come up with activities and games, whether it's a coloring table with different historical people from the Black community that they could color or design something. Then there would be activities for movement, games that they could just go play that they probably are familiar with already. We could have that going on also. And then in putting the program together, there would be times for discussion and maybe questions or thoughts or something like that. I'm just brainstorming here, some thoughts.
I would add to that, I'm wondering if there's any library staff who would partner with us to create a reading corner where there's, every half hour there's a different story, and it could be the mayor could read a story and the fire chief could read a story or something, and then maybe a resource people could take. More books to learn about Juneteenth, more books to learn about, famous people in history who did this. In a world where these books are being further and further removed from our families and our children's libraries, we've got experts right here who could set us up.
Wow, this is growing.
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking that's zero cost and activity. And easy. I'm still on the easy.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good suggestion, and we should have it probably in the Savage TV live, those readings. And in the social media too, probably go live. That way it gets more exposure.
That's a good thought. For the first one, we'd have to really think about that. Do we want all of that for the first one, not knowing how many people we're going to get there or how it's going to turn out?
No, I was thinking about the reading part, because I thought the reading was in the library, right? But the event is in the...
Oh, no, I
ELC.
think everything would be there.
I was thinking a
At the
corner at
ELC.
the ELC,
Yeah.
a reading space that every half hour there's a guest reader or...
Well, that's the other thing. We'd have to come up with the time because we don't want this to run too long.
Right.
I'd say, Chair and Commissioner, I would be strategic with the time. If it's a long, extended period of time, people tend to, they don't show up, or they're like, I'll go there, and then I miss it. So I think being very we'll have an intro from the CEC, we'll have the mayor read a story about the history of Juneteenth or about some historical figure there, and then have somebody speak or a storyteller. I think being sort of tight about that time. I think it'd be really important, particularly when you have children. All of a sudden, quickly you lose everybody. So,
Right. 'Cause
So
we-
there could be a library display. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay, go ahead.
Ah, Madam Chair, so there could be a display of other books with a list of books to check out with your family or something, one that's read as part of a program.
I lost my thought here, but yeah, go ahead.
We have enough, we did a lot of brainstorming, we have so much ideas. Maybe this is a good idea for a few people in the team to take it to the next level and the grand scheme of that event. So we have so much good idea, and Chris also proposed some of the detail events, but for the overall event, like if we can, because within this stipulated time we cannot decide, right? So at least we have a very good ground, foundation now, and move forward. Maybe a sub, or maybe your, Madam Chair, you can make that decision. But
It would be nice to have someone maybe work with Chris on putting an agenda, just a outline of what this may look like. And keep in mind, we have to allow for community connection where people just have time to just talk to each other. It doesn't have to be all spelled out that we're going to do this, We have to give them time to just socialize, eat, have fun, the kids have fun, go look at the books, so sometimes it sounds like we have to put so much together, but not always, especially starting out. So just some thoughts there. So right now, it looks like I'm going to be checking on the food. Chris will be checking on the surrounding areas and the date. Did I hear you volunteer, Amina?
I said we could ask her. I think she's brought this up in the past where she's done similar, not necessarily Juneteenth, but similar events, and she may be aware of a speaker. And so, yeah, and I don't know if I can add, I don't know if this is an opportunity or it's too late to partner with Parks and Recs, if you're talking about activities, maybe maybe this would be next year.
Chair and Commission, I chatted with Parks and Rec before this meeting. They have the pickleball tournament, which is thousands of people that week, basically. And then the following week, they have Dan Patch Days, which is the largest event they have annually. It's also the start of rec programming. So they want to support Juneteenth, but they basically said, we don't currently have a staffing model that would work for them to take any of this on.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yes, Commissioner John Grass first.
And it might be a little too late to do this for the timeline, but I think it would be great if we could somehow incorporate pop-up shops for Black-owned businesses or something like that, along with whatever we do to really highlight our local businesses. But I don't know how we could best get that in this time frame and have that as highlighted.
Chair and Commission, I can tell you, we did that at a prior Juneteenth I was involved in planning. It was hard to get people to attend, particularly when there's no financial incentive. If you're a pop-up shop, you want to go where their money is. So are you going to have 300 people where I can make the sales, or are you going to pay me to be there? So I think we could look at that. I just know we struggled to get people to show up to an event, even if knowing we were going to have a pretty good turnout, which is maybe 200 or so people.
Okay.
Commissioner Nelson?
Just for the sake of those who aren't here, and you made mention earlier, there might be people who want to be more active in this. Would we be willing to ask Chris if he could send an email to the entire commission summarizing what we talked about, and if anyone particular has leads and can reach out to partner? It wouldn't have to be a reply all, that sort of thing. They could just reach out to you independently, and you could connect with Chair Lewis Miller.
Reach out to could you?
Just to our committee,
Yeah.
those who aren't here, and just to see if anyone expresses an interest because they have a connection or have tried something.
Oh, cool.
Just because there are several empty seats, and we've got a lot of great resources and networkers.
Chair and Commission, I think what I was going to do after this is kind of do a summary out saying, here's our timeline for this next April meeting or around Juneteenth. here's what people have volunteered for. Gail, I have you for food, and then you also looking for authors and speakers. I'm fairly certain Amina would have an interest too. And then to say and then also I like the partners. Also, we may look for partners for this. If you have either recommendations for speakers, please reach out to them. If you have recommendations for partners, please reach out to them, and I'll coordinate it through me. Excuse me.
Well, thank you for that discussion. That was a way better discussion than I thought. It was kind of quiet at first, and then everybody just jumped in. So thank you so much for doing that, and
We
thank
needed
you.
you to start that.
Yes, thank you, Chris, for your feedback with that. At this time, I'd like to move on to our next agenda item, which is the discussion about the CEC recommendation for the 2025 ceremonial flag displays at our city facilities. And I was fortunate enough to attend the work session of the council Monday night, along with Chris Swanson, to hear about what came out of that meeting. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Chris.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. And again, I appreciate you being there on Monday. So as this commission knows, we started this discussion around looking at a flag policy for ceremonial flags last year. I think we talked about it in September and then November meetings. Council then had an initial discussion around this at the December work session. They had some additional questions at that time. Particularly, they had an interest in what that process would be. So how a recommendation for flags would get to the council, and then kind of what the standard for how long a flag can be displayed or will be displayed was. There's a question of, do we put up a flag? Do we take it down? Does it stay up for the week? If it's a week we're recognizing, is it a month? What happens if there's like Hispanic Heritage Month is over the course of 2 months? So they just want a little bit more of the actual process for how things go. The presentation we made to them on Monday outlined, much like what we discussed at the commission, kind of the process as proposed, which is like the proclamation policy, annually the CEC will review a list of proposed flags or flags that this committee is recommending to fly in this chamber. These are only related to the ceremonial flags that will fly here. The 3 flags outside, so the national flag, the state flag, and the city flag will always be flown. We just don't really have the staff ability to change those out on a more frequent basis. And we think because this is a seat of power for the city, this is a good spot to have it. Also, it's very public. People come and go here. So felt like that was important. So what staff said is the CEC will review annually, as I mentioned. That recommendation will then go to the council. Ultimately, it is the council decision which flags they recommend to be flown. This is not a public forum for speech. This is the council basically selecting, this represents the city and the organization. And then staff will actually be the ones who then implement the flags. What council then wanted from us, from the CEC, well, they were comfortable with what we proposed. Oh, they also were supportive of doing for any flag that is flown a month or 30 days. They felt like that was a good way to both show our support. So it's not just that one day you missed it, it's there for the entire month. It's visible, but then it's easier for staff too. We're not constantly trying to figure out which flag should be up which day. What they wanted then, because staff is recommending we bring this for final adoption at one of the April meetings, is they wanted the CEC to also provide a list of recommended flags, ceremonial flags, at that same meeting. So what I have pulled together here is basically a list of flag recommendations. I pulled this together by trying to identify sort of nationally recognized flags that correspond to a celebration, particularly one that would be applicable to Savage and our history and our community. And then I also put that side by side with the proclamations that council currently does based on recommendations and chair. I think it's a nice layout there. The mayor particularly wanted to see something around National Police Week, recognizing some of the loss that our communities have seen in the last 2 years here. I think it's important to her to have something to honor the fallen officers. And then also wanted something around either veterans or sort of POWs, MIAs. So I have a list of 3 flags here that we're recommending. I know we also talked about as well in the 2025 projects is also getting LGBTQ plus flag. So that is also here. So currently staff is recommending a flag for National Police Week. That'll fly in May, a flag for Pride Month, and then a flag either for National POW MIA Day in September. So that would also fly that entire September, or a flag in Veterans Day. Currently, I could not find a specific Veterans Day flag. Generally, the American flag is used as the Veterans Day flag, but we could, if council was comfortable, put up the POW Missing in Action flag too. So that's staff's recommendations currently. I would love to hear from the CEC and your thoughts on this. If we get to an agreement tonight, what we'll do then is bring this in partnership with the actual, hopefully final policy to the council at one of the April dates.
Thank you. Are there questions for Chris on this? From any of the commissioners? I think it helps to show what the observance is, and then to show whether there's a flag needed for it or if it's a proclamation for that holiday. And sometimes it's both, sometimes it's one or the other. Thoughts, questions?
Chair and Commission, too, I just want to add, I did look at other surrounding communities to see if there's any other flags we were maybe missing. And I think generally this is what we see for those, the publicly displayed flags. Because again, these are the ones that are kind of recognized, both in Minnesota and nationally.
So at this time, if we're in agreement, do we need to vote on this for it to go to the council?
Chair and Commission, my apologies. I would like basically an action recommending this go to council as the list of approved flags for approved ceremonial flags for 2025.
And my understanding is we can always add if we find that we've missed a national holiday for the next year.
Yep.
Correct?
Chair and Commission, we can, if we find we missed a national holiday for the next year, we can add, if we missed something even for this year, the nice part about a policy, we have some flexibility. It would then just go through that normal process of CEC review, bring it to council, council adopt.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept this, to move it forward to the council for approval?
Commissioner John Grouse would make a motion to accept the policy as stated and move it to council.
Thank you. Second that?
Commissioner Mukulel seconded.
Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, well, thank you for that. Now we're going into the discussion on the 2026 budget request that I believe the city council will be working on their budget in June. Is that correct?
Chair and Commission, yes. We are already back in budget time. Kind of amazing. It's just a circle. So what I wanted to do is last year, for the first time, the CEC requested and received some budget funds. We had $1,500 for a list of, I think, 5-ish items that we wanted to try to accomplish. We want to start that process again. So I want to have this conversation now for a future discussion in April about the actual projects in preparation for kind of the budget kickoff in May and then kind of final discussion in June. So I just want to make sure that we are well prepared to have those conversations with council. Kind of the main items to think about when looking at budget is why is this needed? Who will be carrying out the budget project? When and where this activity will take place? What will be purchased with this? And then just kind of generally how much is requested. So just kind of a reminder there. What I provided the commission also is the 2025 adopted work plan. So that does, the items highlighted, or a couple of the items, do have budgets already tied with them. What I would like the commission to think about is what of these items that are shown on our list that may need an additional budget behind them to get them accomplished. Also, we can talk about what new items do we want to add for 2026. These items are a good example. They weren't on our work plan last year, but because we got a budget for them, we're now going to focus and try to do them. So wanted to open it up to this group at this time. Again, my plan is to do kind of a similar process we did last year where we talk about it here, and then you send me your budget recommendations. I'll pull them into a kind of a package to provide to this group, and we'll have sort of a more deeper conversation in at the April meeting.
So is it my understanding that you're asking for commissioners to just send possible items to you and cost with that?
Chair and Commission, yeah, if they want to do that, I think also I just want to give this commission the opportunity to, talk about anything that you're thinking about for budget items now. See if you're thinking of similar things to other commissioners. Generally, the commission hasn't had time to talk about these things before you provide me the recommendations. So I just want to give the commission the opportunity to sort of speak amongst yourselves and just sort of say, maybe this is what we're thinking about. Do we think we need money here? What are people thinking? If you don't have additional conversations on that too, and just want to plan to send me the budget requests and then discuss them more deeply in April, we can do that too.
Any thoughts on that? Yes, Commissioner Schultz.
Yeah, Chair, I think this is a super important topic, and we're missing quite a few commissioners. So I think it's my recommendation if we can maybe start sending things to Chris and then have this as a topic maybe in our next meeting, if that's okay, because I think it, I know we have the pride flag has been done, so we know how much was spent on the MLK contest. And so I think looking at what we want to see for Juneteenth and maybe the club, Cultural Engagement Club, having this as a discussion topic for the next meeting, I think will solicit more commissioner, we'll get more input from other commissioners who are missing, and also for the sake of time for tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that. And can I just ask, did we have a cost for the pride flag that's coming out of our funds now?
Chair and Commission, I believe we think it's going to be about $350.
Okay, that's good to know. So we're asking for, going back to what you just shared, Commissioner Schultz, we're asking for people to just email to you their thoughts or have people work on this?
So my initial thoughts were, because this we just had this done last year and we're missing a lot of our fellow commissioners, is if we can table this until next meeting, and for now if we can start sending our initial thoughts to Chris, and then have this, as this is a big item for discussion next meeting. So I don't know if that's okay, and if you need a motion for that, how we can. What's the
Chair and
process for
Commission, this is something, so this is just informational only. I just wanted to sort of get this in front of this group now, because I remember last year also, we're like, oh no, we need to pull this together in 2 weeks. So there's no action that needs to be taken.
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of give a background for this process. Again, I think the process last year worked really well. So what I will do next too is then send out the forms I used last year to everybody. And then between now and the next meeting, please send them to me, and then we can have the broader conversation at the April meeting. So this is just information only. We don't need to make any decisions.
It's a good process. Oh, yes, go
I
ahead.
just have a question. The forms you're sending out before the next meeting, you want us to do the forms that say this is how much, this is who's in charge, all of that before we discuss here?
Chair and Commission, if you want to discuss some of those items here, like if there's a pressing, a large item you wanted to sort of talk through, I want to give you the space. If you just want to start looking at individual projects, just fill it out in the form and send it to me, and then we can talk through that in April.
Okay.
Okay, all right. I think we have that set. So with that, and I see the time, we'll go into the informational updates. And we have quite a few, but they're updates, so they should go quick.
All right. Chair and Commission, the open house for Highway 13 improvements is March 18th from 4:30 to 6:30. Presentation starts at 5. It's at the Savage Library. The community mural input workshops are beginning February 22nd from 10 a.m. to noon at the Savage Library. We have 4 hands-on mosaic making workshops. Go to Let's Talk Savage to sign up. I don't know if there's space still available. They have been a hot commodity, so very excited for that. So looking forward to the outcome of that. Commissioner Appreciation Dinner is next Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the ELC. I unfortunately will not be able to make it. I got childcare duty, but please be there. Should be fun. Sounds like food's going to be good. So we really appreciate everyone, and we want to show that appreciation through free food. Arbor Day tree sales begins March 17th through April 13th. Information is on our website there. The spring break open play extra hours at the Sabridge Dome start March 31st through April 4th. And then we have the flashlight egg hunt starting April 11th at the Savage Sports Dome. That's 7 through 9 p.m. If you want to participate in that, we ask that you go to the Savage Rec page and register. I think that closes the end of this month. Those are the updates I have.
Thank you. Do we have updates from any of the commissioners? Thank you. Commissioner Schultz, I'm going to put you on the spot if you don't bring up what I think you're going to bring up.
Oh, okay. And I'll be brief too. So this is just piggybacking what Chris mentioned about the mosaic workshops. I had the opportunity to see what the mural looks like. And so right now as we stand is that the mural has been finalized. They've selected who the artists are going to be. And so I know that we had the February 22nd meeting. Those are really good it was very engaged. I had the opportunity to attend that, and it was very well put together. So CD, you did an excellent job. Emily was there, so it was excellent. And so, so for those in our commission who did not have an opportunity to be present, they will be. Please look at the Let's Talk Savage in the coming week. There will be information shared there, and you'll have an opportunity to give some input as well. And then for those who didn't have a chance to register, I know the 4 dates, like Chris mentioned, have been are full. But and the plan is for that to be finalized by August 31st.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that's what I was hoping you were going to bring up. I
You read my mind, so
I
there you
did
go.
get a sneak preview of it, and it is wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. Anything else from the commissioners? Well, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Commissioner Schultz, make a motion to adjourn.
In a second?
Commissioner Nelson, I second.
All right, at this time, the meeting is adjourned, and we hope to see you next time.